So the weather's been bad all week, but that's not going to stop me from getting outside and cooking. Today we're going to make some Chanko Nabe or Sumo stew. So I don't often like soup, but when it's cold outside, I love to have a little bit because it warms you up from the inside. But my biggest complaint is that after I eat the soup, I'm hungry no matter how much I have. But this soup will change that. It's used by sumo wrestlers to help bulk up and get their high calorie needs, and it has a ton of meat and a ton of vegetables in it and comes out absolutely fantastic. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna put some chicken thighs out on the grill, and I'm gonna do them indirect so that way I can spend a lot of time inside without having to worry about flare-ups or anything else that might mess them up. That way I just watch the temperatures, and when they're done, they're done. So let's get it going. To set the grill up for indirect, I've got the two outside burners on about medium-high for a temperature of 350 degrees. Half hour to 45 minutes, these should reach 175 degrees internal. Now, if you're wondering what I did to prep the chicken, it's basically my show you chicken recipe where you've got some soy sauce, ginger, garlic, and a few other spices that make up this marinade. Now just a reminder, every day is a good day to grill. And that's pretty much all we need to do while we're outside, so let's go inside and prep all the vegetables. The first thing that we need to do is to peel up our carrots and our daikon. Daikon is a radish that you can get at most Asian grocery stores. This one was less than $1 and the smallest one that I could find. To prep the carrots, you chop them up and turn them 90 degrees after each cut. Now every Chanko Nabe recipe that I saw chop their vegetables this way, and the only thing that I can figure is it makes it a whole lot easier to grab with a pair of chopsticks. Now we got to chop up the daikon. I made them smaller, but those are some thin slices. They were still pretty easy to pick up though. Add some green onions, some Napa cabbage, and finally we added some baby bok choy. We just cut these in half because we want to do it for the presentation where you can have this big piece that you can grab onto. For the stock, we've got 1.5 quarts of low sodium chicken broth. You absolutely have to do low sodium because we're going to add to it 1/4 cup of soy sauce as well as a couple tablespoons of rice wine vinegar. And if you don't do low sodium, it's going to be way too salty. Now, I don't know who designed this package, but it's a real pain to get it out. I wish that they had made the hole just a little bit bigger. The next step is to add the daikon and the carrots into your stock. Now, these are going to take the longest to cook, and so we're going to let them simmer by themselves for about 10 or 15 minutes until they start to soften before adding the bok choy as well as the Napa cabbage, which will cook for another 10 minutes. While those are going, we're going to go ahead and prep our chicken. I could have gone with boneless, skinless, but it's a lot more fun, and it was also 1/3 the price to do it this way. It's pretty easy to remove the bones in the skin. And when you're done with that, you go ahead and chop them up in nice big pieces, making sure you don't have any cartilage or anything else you don't want in your soup. Now, since we're kind of bougie, we're going to cut an X into our mushrooms for a little bit better presentation. Throw those into the pot and add about 1 pound of Udon Noodles, which are one of my favorites. Pretty much the reason why I have soup is these noodles right here. We're going to cover that up and let it go for another 5 minutes, and it's ready to go. When the soup is done, throw it in the bowl and then add your chicken. I also snuck in some pork meatballs. You got a little bit of ginger, green onions, and pork, some enoki mushrooms, and then finally I topped it off with a soft-boiled egg. This really finished it off the way that I like it. Put a little bit of the broth back in, and you'll notice that it's mostly filling with just a little bit of broth, and that's the way that I like it. Good enough for a sumo wrestler, and good enough for me. This recipe makes a ton of soup. It's enough for 6 to 8 people if you have something like a side with pot stickers or some egg rolls. But don't stress if you don't have all the ingredients because you can mix and match. So if the bok choy doesn't look very good but the watercress looks amazing, you can put that in too. You want to make it spicy, throw in some sriracha, some peppers, and make it your own. Whatever you do, it's gonna be good.